Are you a manager who is eager to change the trajectory of your career? I have spent the last 23 years as a Fortune 50 leader learning from other industry leaders how to break free from limiting beliefs and habits. On the Might in Motion podcast, we focus on the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. We bring you leaders from Fortune companies, doctors, and entrepreneurs. Their stories of living their own might in motion will inspire you to create your own action plan and achieve your goals. Welcome to Might in Motion. Today's episode of Might in Motion is brought to you by Pantheon FM, Fortunes Magnified. Pantheon FM is changing the world through entrepreneurship. In this community, you will find everything you need to create, amplify, and monetize your world-changing business. Join us at pantheon.community/register/LAUA. I am really excited today to welcome to Might in Motion, Erin Craske. She's an author of From Purpose to Profit. She's a mental health and freedom and effortless advocate. She's a commercial strategist and business leadership coach with over 20 years of hands-on experience. With a portfolio spanning 40 cross-industry leading brands and global companies, Erin is as real as it gets. Her leadership skills have transformed mindsets, elevated brand profiles, and driven unprecedented performances, all while fostering authentic and respectful relationships. With a dedication to ethical practices and a customer-centric approach, Erin has achieved international business awards in strategy and communications and authored an award-winning practical strategy guide, From Purpose to Profit. Erin, I am really excited to have you on Might in Motion. Even in the green room, we were like just having a great time with my giant, as you said, cup of tea. So it's just really thrilling to have you on Might in Motion. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Mariana, for inviting me. And I'm equally excited. I remember the first conversation we had and then the little chat just before the podcast recording. I was like, do we really need to do a podcast? Can we just have a conversation and just continue this? Yeah, so I think we're going to continue with the conversation, whether online or not.
That's right. And that just makes it even better. One thing that I've really enjoyed from following you on LinkedIn and know you a little bit is that you talk a lot about being customer-centric, and that's really refreshing. I come from a long background in retail, and it's all about the customer. And sometimes people forget that the customer might not be the person that's in there buying something. Your customer might be the person sitting next to you. It could be, your boss might be your customer. There might be external, providers that are your customer. Why do you think having that customer-centric mindset is so important, especially for leaders?
Oh my God, it's exactly what I was thinking this morning. I heard the sentence. It was presented to me like it was said by Hewlett Packard. I haven't checked it. Guilt is charged. But well,
it's on the internet. It must be true, right?
From the person who shared it with me. It was easier that way. And basically, the sentence was saying that the company needs to take care of their employees. Employees take care of their customers. Customers take care of shareholders. And shareholders are going to take care of the business.
Yeah.
And this is why it is important. Well, customers are important simply because those people, usually they're people, I presume, they pay for your business, right? Because the business is not sponsored, is not paid by selling products, but from somebody else buying these products, because these people open their wallets and give you cash so they can invest in your business.
Yep.
Right. So that's one reason why customers are important. But then if you look at the chain of these events of how it falls logically, before customer, the employees. So when I talk about business, I talk about three groups of human beings. The first one are employees, the second one are customers, and the third one are business partners. And I consider that all businesses can be developed and can grow only with ethical approach to human beings that drive this business, because you can't develop it without any of these groups. It's impossible, right? So either or, somebody, another human, gonna be together with you on your journey. So yeah, and this is why customers are important. Again, in case of customer, they pay for your business.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're in a large corporation and you're not there where you're the frontline person where you see somebody opening up their wallet and handing over the cash, right? You may never see those people, but you're impacting a sphere around you, and then that impacts another sphere, right? And so whenever I'm talking to new leaders, I try to reinforce that how you treat your direct reports, how you treat your like to like peers or other circles within that big organization is really going to have a lasting impact across an entire organization, and eventually it makes its way to the person, to your point, that opens up their wallet.
You know what? It's really interesting. Yes, you don't see the person at the cashier desk who is
Yes.
paying for the product, but you're going to see each and every person in your income statement.
Yes. Yeah.
This is how you see them, and this is how you know that
Right.
they were willing to open it in the first place.
Now, you mentioned an interesting word. You mentioned ethical and like that treatment of people. What does that mean to you?
Oh, I guess ethics come with so many different shapes and forms and definitions and what lie in it. In my world, it's just treating people with dignity and respect. I believe this is going to be the easiest and the most straightforward answer without diving into detail. Yeah, dignity and respect as every human being deserves it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's that golden rule, right? Like treat others the way you want to be treated. Right?
Absolutely.
Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? All the things, right? But it's that basic
Yeah,
of that dignity and respect goes a long way.
because it will reciprocate. That's the
Mm-hmm.
funny thing I believe that most leaders they forget about. You know, when they start thinking about how to improve culture or improve motivation or retention, whatever they need to improve, there's so many things that apparently are falling apart.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Isn't it just easier to strip it all? It's actually going to be much cheaper to go back to basics
Yeah.
and treat your people with dignity, respect, and appreciation for what they do for you. And I can bet it will reciprocate doublefold. And you
Mm-hmm.
won't even need to pay shed loads of money on benefits.
That's right. Yeah. I love that. The other thing you talk about as well is that leadership should be effortless and sustainable.
Yeah.
And I've never really thought about that. You can see really good leaders and it does seem like it just comes naturally to them, right? How can somebody learn to lead in that effortless and sustainable mindset?
That is actually interesting because, yes, you can get through additional trainings if you have certain skills that needs to be
Mhm.
polished. It's fine. This is what trainings are for. But at the same time, I don't believe that you have to learn to be a leader.
Mm,
Because when we talk, just when we're making this connection from working with your team and with respect, dignity, and appreciation, because you are human and you're building human connection, aiming at making it better and also aiming at reciprocity,
mhm.
in reality, all that requires from you is to be yourself. With a little twist, you need to accept yourself for who you are. But
Mm,
when you shed all these armors, shields that you cover your insecurities with, you protect yourself from what you think your soft core, you protect yourself from what you think of not being worthy, of not being capable, of not being secure, when you remove all that and you accept yourself with this dignity and respect that other people would appreciate having, so why not to become a leader from this place? Just to be human, right? If you don't know something, you talk to your team. If you have something that is good, you share with the team. Something that is upsetting, partially you share it with the team because you're all together in the same boat. It's going to make your life easier because you don't have to wear masks all the time. You don't have to adjust yourself to labels that you put on yourself because you think that this is the right label to carry, to wear. You don't have all that. So if you believe in what you do, this is your leadership, right?
Yeah.
You're visionary. You go where you want to go because you have this belief, you know that's right. And you bring your people along, not because you force them, but because they want to follow. It may sound a little bit idealistic, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but just leading from the place of being human, I think it's just so much easier. And then, yes, if you still need trainings, absolutely. But if you don't have this level of self-acceptance, unfortunately, trainings won't work.
Yeah.
They may help here and there. And the question whether, if they're going to help, whether it's going to be sustainable. But when you're leading from self-acceptance, I don't believe that anything can be more sustainable than that.
Yeah, I love that. That really resonates with me. You know, I've gone through decades, right, of leading people and being in situations where it's like, no, you have to act a certain way. And when I break free from that, but I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to be a little bit more humorous. I'm going to give people a little bit more grace. I'm going to share like, hey, there's some dark stuff too, right? Or here's the battle we have up against us, and let's all work together. It's amazing to see that when you do that, your team comes together faster. Like I talk about chaos to community. It's like this arc that I see on repeat, right? And if you want to get from your team from a chaos state to a community state as fast as you can, it's how authentic can you be to yourself, and then are you sharing that with others? Like that's it's like it's the spark. It's the thing that says, hey, yeah. And then everybody, to your point, they want to lift you up. Like I have people that have left my team, left companies decades ago that I know today I could pick up the phone and they're still my ride or die people because I treated them with respect when they were in a crisis, or I gave them grace, or I celebrated them. And you create this bond that lasts literally forever. So I think that effortless sustainability can last forever as a leader. It's an amazing thing when it happens.
You know what? Again, I just would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me a sign of approval, because all I've been facing throughout my career is actually the opposite. And I didn't see it doing any good to the teams or to the business in the whole. You know, there's so many things that may go wrong when people are not in the right place. And since I'm talking about it, coming from my experience, talking, you know, being a leader, being in the leadership team, also talking to many companies that were of smaller sizes, and every time I'm saying that, you see faces lit up. So what I say actually makes sense because people resonate. But unfortunately, it still goes nowhere.
Well, I think
there is a way out of the situation we're in. Absolutely, there's a way out.
Yeah. Yeah. People and connections, that's the commodity of the future. Right. So those connections that people are making either within their organizations or through, connections online or through business partnerships or your customers, that connection, that human connection is the commodity that's going to propel companies and teams in the future. Like full stop. So people crave that. There's people get so tired of like, the AI, the computer, I'm in front of this all day. They're craving that human connection. But it's got to be authentic.
Yeah.
You know, when you step back and, you know, we're in such an instant world, right? Like this was made in 2 minutes, right? If I was doing it right, it should have taken a lot longer. You know, and so it's like, okay, we have this like instantaneous mentality. But when you really think of a return on investment and ROI, you got to look at the long game. And I know you've helped people try to change their mindset from that short term, you know, oh, I got to get this cash here, but you're going to get a bucket of cash if you do it the right way in the long run. Can you kind of step back and maybe help somebody who's kind of young in that phase of their career, right, or their business? What are some things that they can be thinking about to have their mindset on the long-term ROI versus a very quick, short, small gain?
Well, it depends on two circumstances. So the first one, if the business is invested in and invested by serious funds, that will require you to immediately bring money back, or within like a short period of time they would like to see this return. Unfortunately, I don't believe much can be done.
Yep.
Because these people are under pressure of paying back. So that's kind of one scenario that I can't touch because it's not under my power of changing it. But another scenario, it's very simple. Again, it's just figure out where you want to be. If you want to be as a sustainable, profitable business, blessed with longevity and not folding within the first 3 to 5 years because, oops, you're running out of your resources, all the resources that you can actually come up with, human time and money. So, and then you don't know what else you can do because you tried everything's possible and all money and time and people were wasted on trying, then it's one thing, and you can definitely focus on return on investment and make it your new god to pray and hope that eventually it's going to work out. The worst, actually, another thing that people don't realize, that with every new burst of return on resources campaign, your benefits, what you're gaining, your gains as diminish. There are many reasons behind it. We're not going to go into customer psychology and all other numbers, financial numbers. But also, again, with every new burst, you get your return, but you deplete your resources. So even when you move from one burst to another burst to another burst, it's not going to be sustainable. You may survive for a while. Oh my God. And then it's going to be like stress and sweat and overwhelm and I'm doing again, because you are always tense. You're always pushed to make it better. When, well, you have your goal, you have your vision, you have your path, you have your direction, you know where you want to go. It just makes it a little bit easier, right? Yes, return on investment is not going to be immediate. And yes, in most cases, in the beginning of your strategic journey, you have to invest before you get your money back. But that's a matter of planning your cash flow. It's a matter of knowing your numbers. It's a matter of planning activities according to their priority of what they're going to bring to the business. And because every activity that you do that businesses usually don't have money for, because marketing is always like afterthought, it's just waste of your money. But every activity becomes a building block on that path that brings you to your longevity goal. Also, when you know what you're doing and when something hits the fan, right, you have the flexibility because you know what works, what doesn't. I can take here, I can cancel that, I can survive, I can pivot, and I'm still going the direction I want to go. When you work with, or otherwise, you have money today, you plan activity, money wasted, something again hits the fan, and oops.
Right.
And what are you going to do next?
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of a vision, right? Because the vision can be big. You know, and when you have a company or you're managing a team, have a big vision. 5% cost out year over year could be a really big vision. I mean, if you did 10% cost out the year before, yeah, I want to be number one in the industry with this software, you know, in 5 years. You want everybody within that org, they should be able to say what that vision is. It should be so simple and clear so that every decision they're making, to your point, goes to those building blocks to create that path to get to the vision.
The thing is, the vision, apart from that, it has to be felt and it has to be seen, right? Being number one, this particular software in this particular category isn't felt, isn't seen, because what is actually number one? It's not differentiated because every other software wants to be number one software in that category. And you know what? Team players, your team, often don't really care because it means absolutely nothing to them. All it means, it's a bloody hard work because we're all supposed to be number one in 1 year. So I'm going to die behind my desk to make it work. Do I want to? Not really.
Right.
So vision, yeah, it is overused, but it also has meaning.
Yeah.
All business imperatives that you use in strategic business, everyone gonna have its own meaning why you need to have it. It's not just words, it's not fancy words that everybody is using nowadays. You need to understand what exactly they serve, so you use them appropriately and they can help you fuel your business.
Yeah, I love that. Now, I'm going to pivot a little bit from the business conversation, and I want to talk a little bit about stress. Struggles. So it's a great kind of place to kind of take the conversation at the end, right? We all have stress and we all have struggles. And it's how you approach solving them, I think, is what differentiates people from really leveling up, either personally, professionally, whatever, right? It doesn't matter where.
Well, you know what? I would actually challenge it. I would say this is how you approach in creating them in the first place.
How you create the stress and the struggle?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more.
That's interesting. Actually, I love my definition. Did I mention that I define my clients? I mean, I used to have 3 categories of clients. Now I'm adding the 4th one. They're probably going to run by you at some point to check whether it sounds good. So the first one, they're running like headless chickens. They are being trapped in a hamster wheel and they're being stuck in a rat race. All these states, they come with stress, struggle, and overwhelm. It's inevitable, right? So, and it may come from 2 different, I guess, areas. The first one, yes, in terms of business, this is how you run it. This is the approach you choose. This is what you want to achieve. This is the objective that you set. There's looking at other companies and wanting to be the same. There's so many things that go in the way you run it, including return on investment, that comes with stress and overwhelm. It's inevitable. But also, this is how you approach it here in your head. Because a lot of things that we experience, they actually are born from our thinking, and they're born in our heads first and foremost. So then the question is, if you don't want to be stressed, I guess the first and the easiest place would be don't create it. First, don't create it through your thoughts. And secondly, don't create it through your actions. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's easy said. Sometimes it's not easy done.
But
it's that internal dialogue, right?
When we want something, we do it.
Yes.
You know, when we don't, it's absolutely impossible. I can talk to you for 24 hours nonstop about how to make it work. But if somebody doesn't want to do it, take care of it, all my words, they're pretty useless. It's a waste of everybody's time. Yes, It takes time to train yourself and to understand and to question your own thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time to realize what works, what doesn't work for your own benefit in your head. It takes time to notice that when the thought comes and before the thought gets into thinking, so you have this few seconds, split seconds, just to kick the thought out, because then when it becomes thinking, you start engaging into with it, and it becomes much more challenging. You need to have different tools to, because thinking comes from emotions, you need to accept your emotions. So it's just it's a bit too challenging. When it's a thought and it's lonely in your head, you still have a chance to kind of go away. And yeah, so you, if you want to train it, I believe that probably 2-3 weeks will be enough. Is it worth it? Well, then the choice is of every person.
Yeah.
If we want to engage with our worries, with our insecurities, again, with our judgmental thoughts, with our expectations, so we feel disappointed. If we want to engage in comparison and thinking about whatever we believe we should be, become, do, the choice is yours.
Yeah.
But it is possible to reduce the amount of stress, worries, anxiety, and sad mood. I'm not talking clinical depression. Let's call it sad mood.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's phenomenal. And that, I think it's interesting because if I remember correctly from our prior conversation, you really dived into the psychology of things. Like that was, you were really curious about that. And that curiosity, I think that has spawned something really interesting because it is all about mindset. It's like when you want to lose weight or you want to start working out, it's how you talk to yourself first. These 4 inches or however many inches between your ears, right? Is where
Absolutely.
it all begins. It all begins up here and it ends up here.
Yeah. It all begins with your conditioning, because
Mm-hmm.
thoughts don't come from nowhere, from anywhere, right? So they have to have a soil, fruitful soil, where they're going to be stemming from.
Yes.
And that's the first step in this circle. So
Yep.
from there comes a thought that, again, something that is easy to find a new place for, or put on a cloud, or put it on a leaf, or put it somewhere wherever you want to put it. Then they go into thinking. Thinking becomes emotions. It's just a basic cycle, right? From emotions stem our actions. Then emotions and actions together create experiences. And
Mm.
these experiences, they can either reinforce our initial belief or deny it. But because we are wired for biases, more often than not, they're going to reaffirm it, which means that you go in either vicious circle or downward spiral, and you have to break it. So one way of breaking it is going and see a therapist or
Mm-hmm.
transformational coach that will be working on the foundation of how you see the world and how you see yourself in the world. If you don't want to engage with a professional, the next level you can catch it is going to be a level of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do it yourself here, next level is going to be different types of therapy professionals.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have like this split moment when you can do it yourself, and it's really easy.
Yeah. I mean, like it's one of my very first guests when I started this podcast was a clinical, psychologist. We talked about thought mindset, right? So, however many episodes in now, 3 seasons, etc., it all comes down to that. That mindset has a
Yeah.
huge impact on your ability to succeed in business, but in your personal life too, and your relationships, because it's full circle. It's about those
Yeah.
connections, the people side. This has been a really, I knew it was going to be an insightful conversation. And I
29
would love
minutes.
to have go on forever and ever because this has been awesome.
Dwayne, I didn't realize. I just look at the clock on the corner. So already. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It goes by so fast, Erin, when you're having a really thoughtful and insightful conversation in my mind, like for me. So this has been awesome.
Thank you so much. It was a converted compliment.
Yes, it's been great. And I know that people they're going to want more, or they're going to be like, I want more of Erin. So it is the best way. We have a website link up here to your link tree. Is that the best way for people to connect with you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. And
let's make it effortless. Just click.
Go ahead.
Let's make it effortless. No writing down, no memorizing, just go and click.
That's right. In the show notes, there'll be a link. Go click it. You can go catch the newsletter on LinkedIn as well. There'll be links there. But I think what's really cool too is that Erin's offering to listeners a gift of coaching sessions. And there's a code out here. It's using Effortless code at the TGBB5S. I can't read it for here because I need to get my glasses checked. But you have a code that you can use. The key thing is Effortless as being the code. And so as anybody who's listened to the podcast here and knows, I love to take copious amounts of notes. I got my handy pen right here. And I want to kind of share some of the highlights I wrote down. And I know when I go back and re-listen to this, a few weeks from now, I'm like, there's so much more. The first thing was about being customer-centric. We kind of started and ended with that. And that, it's the people buying your product, right, is so important. And you want to have ethical treatment, which to you is, and I think this resonates for everybody, is treating people with dignity and respect. And you get reciprocation of that. The three key categories of people: your employees, your customers, and your business partners. When you do that, that's going to be that fertile soil, if you will, to help grow your business and that your team the way that you want them to grow. And it becomes effortless and sustainable when you do that, because you don't really have to learn to be a leader. You just have to actually treat people with dignity and respect, and accept yourself with dignity and respect. And that just naturally allows you to be a really good leader instead of a boss. We talked too about how that then translates into that long-term ROI. When you are blessed with longevity, right? You're out of the phase of trying to fundraise and do all that. You have to have that long-term vision that everybody can be tuned into, so that the tasks become building blocks to get to that goal. It has to be felt, seen, and people have to care about that vision, because if they don't care about it, it just becomes more.
Mariana, one thing, that long-term ROI, actually it becomes profitability. There's a different word for it, and it sounds a little bit soft and smooth.
I love that.
Profitability, right? It's just, I don't know, just touch better, ROIs, whatever, it's technical. Profitability has a bit more weight in it.
Love that. I love that. And then, when you talk about people not maybe believing in that vision, and it becomes something that stress, right? I want to hide it on my desk because I'm not believing in this. Well, you got to be able to pull that stress and the struggle away. You work with right now 3 main categories of people, like you said, that are headless chickens running around. 2 are on the hamster wheel, and then the 3rds that are on the rat race. There's lots of animals there, and they all seem very stressed out. But in order to start breaking free from that, it becomes your mindset, and having a different conversation internally is really going to allow you to break free from being that chicken, being that hamster, being that rat, and moving into a positive direction. So, which goes back to how you treat people and how you treat yourself as being one of those people.
Yeah.
You want to break free from that so that you can have that respect for yourself. So it was a really cool full circle conversation, Erin. This has been really phenomenal. And I really appreciate you being on Might in Motion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into Might in Motion. If you learned something about motivation, momentum, mindfulness, or might, please like, comment, and share. Thank you.